Hey, you guys. I'm in my sewing room today. Another part of my sewing room by the dresser in the bed, just because I was tired of the glare from the sewing machine. I know I said I'm going to talk about the Duggar questions, and I am, but I have a couple other things I need to talk about. Yeah, I'm a feeling about as, I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling about as cranky as a Lawrence Welk fan at an Ozzy Osbourne concert. Why? Still drama going on. And after a while, the drama starts to get a little wearing, at least on me. I don't have a lot of energy. I have energy for a few things every day, but not too many. I'm going to show you one of the things I have energies for, and I have to brag. Costa Rica. This is another reason to move to Costa Rica. The awesome bakeries. I don't know if I can get this out. Royo Compasa. It's a roll with raisins. I'm addicted to these things. This is my breakfast and probably my lunch. That and a salad. Yeah. Anyway, so you think that a pasa con rollo, a rollo con pasa would soothe my soul. I saw, yes, was it yesterday or this morning? No, it was last night. More BS having to do with, hey, Small. You haven't missed a lot. I'm just starting to complain about how I feel like I feel kind of like a Lawrence Welk fan who discovered themselves at oh, at an Ozzy Osbourne concert. Hey, B, I'm just a little irked today because I saw last night that the same group of people is going after Ren that have been going after him, Real Entertainment Network, for ages. I saw what they were doing last night. And it was just vile. I'm watching this. You don't have to like everybody else that everybody doesn't like. You don't have to like who does what. I mean, face it, we're all going to have people we like and creators we like better and people we don't like. You know what I do when I run across a creator I don't like? I don't watch them. I don't chase them all around the internet. I don't go into everybody else's lives. It's a friend of theirs and try to say all kinds of horrible things about it. I just move on. So I'm not really sure why so many people are not moving on. They've turned Real Entertainment Network into the new KJ, the new Katie Joy of Without a Crystal Ball, and they're going after him hard. And I found that really, really vile. I don't care what he's done. He does not deserve a dog pile. He deserves people trying to work with him to help him do better if you're upset with him. The other thing that kind of was nerve wracking this morning was, I don't know if you've seen the video that was purportedly put together by Nat of the KJ and Tati Westbrook lawsuit fame, the girl with dissociative identity disorder. She put together a video explaining her recent actions, and it was up for like a hot second before it was deleted. I didn't even bother watching it when it came up the first time because I talked to Nat. But here's the thing, the conversations I have with Nat, they don't have to do with who did what and if Salty is a lying bastard or whatever. We have conversations like, hi, hon, how you doing? There's not much good to be said if you're going after people um, for such silly things. I mean, I feel bad for Nat. She's got a hard road to hoe no matter how it comes together for her. So they reposted it, and I've seen it now, like 5 minutes of it, and I just had to roll my eyes and go, "Oh no, this again." I know there are people that are into it, real into it, and they're happy with that. They're enjoying this. I'm just not one of them. I look at Nat, and I've talked to Nat, and I guess my mother's heart is just too much. I just want it. I want everybody to find their happiness and get along, and I want Nat to find balance. And that, I think, for her is going to mean completely disengaging from the whole KJ thing. Yeah, I'm guzzling iced coffee this morning because this has just been one of those mornings. We've already been running around, running errands. My husband poured water on his laptop, somehow spilled water on it, so we had to get it worked on. What a mess. I had to set him up on a new laptop. Now they're trying to transfer everything from the hard drive of the old laptop and the new hard drive. So, folks, keep your drinks away from your laptops. That's all I can say because I've spilled coffee in a laptop and now he has spilled water. So that's 2 ruined laptops in like 18 months. And that's too many. So, anyway, let me pull this up. This wonderful document that is purported to be made by Jim Bob Duggar. Here's the thing that really made me laugh about this is that oh, what do you call it? YouTube. I put 2 videos up when it fell down. B and small, I agree. Everybody should just disengage, and I don't know why they want to fight. What's the deal? Why does everybody want to friggin' fight? I do not get it. Where's my courtship document? Because I saved this thing rather than keep going back and forth to where it was posted at. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure that this is real, except that I do know that this is pretty common. My husband was just telling me about somebody that we know who used a similar document with his wife before they got married. I just had to laugh at that. You know something? If somebody tried to give me a document like this to quantify whether I was worthy to marry or not marry, if I was in a mood like today, I would just be flipping double birds and walking away because you can't really be quantified with a simple document. And if you're that worried about it, spend a year, 2 years, 3 years getting to know somebody before you marry them. Oh, here we go. The last one I did was the gun one. Oh, the gun one. Gun. I know Jim Bob Duggar loves his guns. I'm not a big fan, only because of the high violence rates in the U.S. Here in Costa Rica, it's almost impossible to get a gun. You have to apply. It's quite costly. It's not just costly. It like takes forever. You have to fill out a zillion pounds of paperwork. You have to prove you're qualified, that you're not a lunatic. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's an expensive hoop to jump through too, which always makes me sorry. It always makes me laugh because people just show up with their guns thinking they'll be allowed to take them through, and Costa Rica says, oh no, and just takes them away from them. So don't show up here with guns. It's just not going to work. Okay, and where's my list? Okay. Where were we? Okay, guns. Okay. How do you see your future relationship with your in-laws working out? I guess they don't want in-law drama. What has been your prior experience with dating and romance? Have you ever kissed or been physically intimate in any way with another girl or a woman? If so, please explain the circumstances. Oh, brother. What is your stand on abortion? What about in cases of rape? Well, you know why they're asking that, because there's no out in their world for abortion. If you're knocked up, it doesn't matter how it happens, whether it happened because your father raped you, because you were raped in an alleyway by a stranger. They don't care. They just know that they want you to have the baby. But they won't support you or the child after the baby is actually here. So get out and get a job, according to the Duggars. How do you relate to children? How often are you around children? What are your thoughts regarding birth control and family planning? Well, you know, this is Jim Bob, so he's looking for the answer. No birth control, no family planning whatsoever. You know, that's the answer. How many children do you hope to have? What is your attitude towards adopting children? that one is a laugh to me because back in the Nancy Campbell days, back in like 1995, it was a huge thing in the Quiverful Church to adopt from Africa. They pushed overseas adoption as being righteous and good and every other thing. And a lot of people lined up behind that and they went out and adopted. I've got to give them credit. They did foreign adoptions, and that's a really hard thing to do. Here's where that all went haywire. Other people preach that if you were adopting, I'm trying to think who it was that said this, that if you were adopting, I think Bill Gothard may have said this, if you were adopting the demons and problems of the child and the child's birth family. So they weren't encouraging that at all. They were the opposite. Now, Nancy Campbell and her daughter, Serene, both adopted Apollo kids from Africa. It didn't work out real well. Some of those kids ended up going back to Africa. There were a lot of disrupted adoptions. Like I said, I was involved with that where I worked at. We had a ton of children, probably 45% of the children at the child's treatment center I worked at were disrupted evangelical adoptions. So many of them, because they weren't prepared. They didn't know that the child was going to come from a foreign adoption agency or adoption home, and they were going to have significant problems. We're talking we're talking developmental delays, a lot of things. But because they can't admit that love is not enough to cure everything, then you turn around and you have all these disrupted adoptions, and it's just another tragedy happening because somebody took the Bible a little too seriously. I think it really depends upon what type of Baptist. I am sure that there was some discussion before he filled all this out, and then there was some discussion. I'm sure he agreed to all of that. I'm sure Derek agreed to all of that to Jim Bob. My understanding is when he first approached Jim Bob, he approached Jim Bob for Jessa, not Jill. But Jessa was already in a courtship with Ben Seawall. You know how they do with these things. Okay, let's go back to our list. Since I've gone off on my adoption rant. What are your views on child training, including corporal punishment? Oh, yeah, because the Duggars do support the Michael Pearl method and blanket training and all of that. Beat them to the will cracks. Okay, what are your views on homeschooling? That's another one. The Duggars are totally for homeschooling. I find it interesting that Jill Duggar Dillard now has her kids in public school. That is a huge leap forward for anybody in that environment as far as their thinking. What are your thoughts on family worship? What would be the key attributes of such a practice in your home? When you fail someone, what actions do you take to rectify the situation? Are you honest? Do you ever slant the truth for your own benefit? Ooh. How have you prepared yourself for marriage? Well, we're hoping it's not by slanting the truth and lying and manipulating others. I'm just going to say that right now. I think that a lot of people in that particular type of religion, they tend to not be 100% truthful, and they don't realize it. In what ways do you think you may need to grow before marriage? Okay. What does, no, I can't read this. What does leave and cleave mean to you? Are you prepared to put your wife first before all others, including her parents? Give me an example of what this may look like to you. Okay, Okay, I have to stop here for a second. That is pure BS in the world of Jim Bob Duggar. You have noticed how many times he's kept those kids on his string after they've married. I mean, even Josh, he's living in a converted shed on the property. There's no leaving and cleaving. They're only leaving and cleaving is leaving and cleaving to Jim Bob Duggar to be his puppet, his manipulated kid, whatever. So Jill and Derek are broken away from that. They're like the only ones that I've seen. Everybody else is still sucking at the family teat. That's what I was going to say. It's funny about my videos yesterday. I did 2 of them. YouTube let me put monetization on one, and the other one they did not. So I'm going to have a conversation with them because I am not saying and doing stuff that's outrageous. I'm just reading a silly document. How do you think your spouse should spend vacations? What? Okay, that one's bizarre. That one to me is just really bizarre. I guess in their world they don't allow you to have separate vacations or anything like that. I don't know. What the heck is going on here? I am not getting cool enough. What is going on? AC's on. Okay. What is your view of divorce? Is there any cause for divorce? Is there ever a cause for divorce? Can you ever justify it? Is there anything that separates a man and a woman once God has joined them together? What about immorality or unfaithfulness in marriage? Is that a reason for divorce? How would you respond to me if I noticed something about a lady in relation to you that bothers me? Oh, Lord. That's where we get, you can't even have friends of the opposite sex, or you're mentally screwing them, and which is not true. Would you listen to me if I ask you to stay away from someone, some Jezebel, I'm sure? What is your view of marriage? Do you consider yourself a giver or a taker? Let's be real here. In this particular religion, the men are the takers for the most part. There are very few of them are kind and giving that I've seen. It sets people up to be tin-plated dictators. How would your family and friends describe you in the above question? The above question had to do with givers and takers. What is your view of a father, a husband, a wife, a mother, a son, a daughter? Oh, you got to spell it out too. What part does each of them play in a family? I guess in a family. What are their roles in life? Good gravy. Okay. What are your views on public swimming? Because we're going to moral standards now. The moral standards. Public swimming. Okay, I have to stop here and rant after all of that. Public swimming in the Jim Bob Duggar world is discouraged. She didn't follow the rules, and she probably spread sin just by existing according to the cult. Yeah. So I believe that too. Here's the thing: if you watch the Duggars and at all, or look at their timelines, when they swim, they put on these wholesome swimwear dresses. That's like a lunch lady. They're very much like just a lunch lady polyester zip-up dress on top of leggings and a rash guard shirt. Modesty. I don't think they're very modest. They make you stand out tremendously on the beach. There's all kinds of modest and comfortable swimsuits out there. There's all kinds of ways to swim that don't involve showing all your goods. One summer, I was on chemotherapy and I had to cover head to toe, and I did it without looking like a lunch lady on vacation. So I don't know for sure about the Duggars, but I do know what it was said in my old church, and I've seen a lot of people in Quiverful say this. They say that swimming is not good, especially in some place like the ocean, because Satan controls the water, but they don't understand that the Bible also says he controls the air. So I guess flying would be considered Satan's territory too. And from what I've experienced flying all back and forth between Costa Rica and America, I'm not sure I wouldn't disagree. Oh my goodness. I have one pieces, I have two pieces, I have a pile of different swimsuits. And depending upon where I'm going and how much I want to show is which ones I wear or don't wear a swimsuit. So my belief is the Duggars really are not swimmers. And when they do, I've seen Jessa wear surfer jams and a t-shirt to swim in. So I guess that's a step forward. I mean, that's something I would swim in. Yeah, they drown. That's the problem. That's the problem with what they're wearing and about the lunch lady on vacation outfit. You would drown in a heartbeat out there, particularly someplace like Playa Grande where the surf is rough and there's lots and lots of what do you call that? Rip currents. There was a lot of that out there. Playa Grande, it's more of a cove. Playa Tamarindo, it's more of a cove. It's not quite so. And if you really want calm water here, you would go to Playa Conchal. It's very calm because, again, you're in a protected cove. I did see that. I don't think that she can say that. I don't know how she can claim that Anna's not allowed in the big house. I do know I keep hearing from unnamed Duggar insiders that say that there is a split in thinking over Josh and how to handle this between Anna and his parents. And that does not surprise me at all because Anna's been taught that the man is the king. You let him do what he wants. If he screws up, you stand by your man, like Sammy Wynette in that song. Regardless of what he's done, you stand by your man. And now I want to sing Stand By Your Man, which I know is not. Let me go back to this list. I could rant all day on this stuff. Where was I? It was about swimming. Do you use offensive language? Well, they don't spell that out. So I'm guessing they mean cursing. But they might mean something as mild as saying, oh, gosh darn it. Do you watch television? R-rated movies, PG-rated movies. What were the last 5 movies you watched? I'm guessing if you listed the movie that Josh supposedly saw, Jim Bob would use those guns to chase you off the property. Then again, he might do that over standard movies that everybody sees. Forrest Gump, chased off property. What kind of music do you prefer? What kind of music would you find offensive? Considering that Jim Bob believes that anything short of hymns is the devil, that's a trick question. You got to know that one. Have you ever been exposed to, I'm not going to say the word, it's the long version of it. Let's just say happy fun times, horizontal fellowship that involves other people? If so, explain the extent and what the circumstances were. I wonder if he realizes that Pornhub tracks this stuff, and they've actually said the more religious a community, and it doesn't matter what religion, it could be Muslim, it could be Mormon, but the higher usages always happen in these very strict religious communities. They've got statistics on it. So I am guessing that he's going to have, yeah, if Tapioca was a movie, you're right, Forrest Gump would be. Yeah, so who knows? But I'm guessing also their definition of that happy fun time stuff is probably a little bit different than most people's. Have you ever been exposed to homosexuality? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Really? When everybody has somebody in their family these days of a different persuasion, you're really going to go there with that? Do you currently use any type of drugs? Have you in the past? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Again, this is a culture that considers taking a Benadryl for your allergies going on a drug trip. So I'm not sure how helpful that one is either. Do you have any financial debt? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. This is a group, this is a high demand religious organization that believes that debt is sinful. Keep that in mind. Have you ever been in trouble with the law? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Oh, well. What tendencies do you have towards prejudice or racism? Like you really expect someone's going to just come out and tell you that. Have you ever had periods of rebellion? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Are there any unsettled issues with your parents? Okay, that one really makes me laugh. I'm pretty sure that Tylenol, you'd have to jump through some big, big hoops to take. Broke down the most popular type of prawn in each state. Oh, that would be really funny to see. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they probably do be. I would not doubt that one bit. What was I going to talk about? Let me go back to the list. It was the last one. Oh, I know now about rebellion. I used to like this television show. There was nothing wrong with the television show, but I was in Fundy Town, so I wasn't even supposed to be watching it. And I really liked one of the actors on the show, Big Mad Crush. Followed all the social media, read all the articles, blah, 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 talked about them. Well, I haven't thought about him in like 20 years. That's how long ago. Because this all took place in the confines of when I was part of Quiverful. This was my mental vacation, I think you could say. The other day I was cruising around and I saw he'd done an interview with someone and I hadn't thought about this person in 20 years. So I went in to watch an interview and I laughed my ass off because this person belongs to a very cult-like version of Buddhism. He started talking about rebellion and how rebellious he'd been. And I was just slapping myself on the head and going, I knew you were stupid, but not this stupid, because he was buying straight into the same nonsense that pretty much every version of the more repressive versions of Christianity teach about rebellion. I didn't even realize that Buddhism teaches the same thing. I know they had a few weird hang-ups like that, but here he was babbling about it. And then a few minutes later, he was babbling about how hydroxychloroquine was a wonderful thing, and how when he got COVID, he purposely spread it to his family so everyone could be immune. And I'm going, no. So anyway, a thing I wanted to say about rebellion is rebellion can mean any variety of things. And these high demand religious organizations put very normal things listed as rebellion. Do you know why teenage rebellion happens? It happens so that you don't live with your parents forever. It happens so that you and your parents start to separate a little bit. And it's a lot less painful when you move out the door, when you turn 18. That is what rebellion is about in many ways. They do a drug test. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Especially their drug tests you can buy at Walgreens. I've seen them at the Dollar Tree when I've been in the States. So I would not doubt that they run a drug test, financials, and a background check on anybody filling out this form. Back to the awful form. We are only at question number 162. Now we're going to the section called Your Future. Can you describe your life purpose, i.e., how you intend to use your interests, experiences, skills, and talents to serve and glorify God? This question was asked way, way back there when they were asking about spiritual things. What role would your family and children play in your life purpose? Already asked that. What role would your job career play in your life purpose? Where do you see yourself in 10 years, in 20 years? And I have to say about that, that's actually not a bad question to ask. I once read a book called Everything I Need to Know in Life I Learned from Star Trek. And he actually talked about that. He talked about every organization, whether it is a business or a church, whatever. Everybody needs to know the Star Trek thing. They need to know what the purpose is, the 5-year mission. You remember on Star Trek, they said, this is our 5-year mission? Even the stupidest crewman on the Enterprise, even the janitor knew what the 5-year mission was, what their purpose was. It's really helpful sometimes in organizations and even in families to sit down and say, hey, where do we see ourselves in 5 years? Where are we going? How do we get there? It's a very, very common thing to do that. And I don't think the 10 and 20 year thing is useful, because one thing I know about life is it's constant change and it's constantly throwing you curveballs, and you just can't extrapolate that far out. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to this hideous document. Where do you see yourself specifically in 10 years, 20 years? Again, a useless question. When the Lord calls you home, how would you like people to remember you? Dear Jim Bob, I want a New Orleans jazz funeral, and I want a party. I want them to say, Suzanne was funny and fun. Let's have tequila in her honor. So I'm thinking that that's not what he's asking. He's asking, I talked to him about it quite a bit. We laughed a little bit. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry about that yet again. I cannot imagine what that would be like. I remember how incredibly hard it was when my daughter, when they told me they didn't know if she'd live or die, and we were constantly going back and forth to UVA. It was just so heart-wrenching. I cannot imagine losing a child. Back to this hideous, hideous document. I'm sure that he's wanting everybody to say that they remember them as a great warrior in Christ. What are your goals in life, long and short term? Didn't we cover this already? Identify 3 things you want to accomplish in the near future. Identify 3 things you want to accomplish long term. Again, we've covered that. What is the purpose of the family? What will be the purpose of your family? Again, we covered that. What is your life's verse? He means out of the Bible. What do you feel is God's will and calling for your life? Again, we've asked this one. What made you come to that conclusion? What were the circumstances around you that caused you to make this decision? Do you remember the day or time in your life that you realized God's will for your life? We're really dragging down the minutia, aren't we? Are you headed in the direction that you feel God would have you go? Are you totally and completely committed to doing God's will no matter what? No matter what is in all caps, like he's screaming at the person. Is there anything that would keep you from following him, big H? Are you open to God changing his will and you going in a different direction if he so chooses? Oh man, it's stuff like that that makes me doubt guys like Jim Bob. Because if it's God's will for your life and you're working on it, why would he suddenly change in midstream? And I've seen so many Christians do this in my old church. Oh, Diane, I am sorry about that too. I've never been somebody who's had a tendency towards addiction. And I've thought about it a lot because I've had so many friends have had, I used to work at a medical clinic where it was people asking all the time for opioids for crazy reasons. Um, I am convinced there's got to be something chemically a little bit different about the addictive brain, the brain that goes into addiction, than there is for those of us who can take OxyContin and then just walk away like me. I was on it for 9 months. And that's for a really serious problem I was having, and it was over because God is a prick. I kind of think that too. Their God, I'm going to say their version of God is definitely all about predators, protecting predators, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. That's another reason it makes me laugh so hard about this list. Is quitting or giving up an option for you? And he is talking about quitting your chasing God and doing what you think God is telling you. Personal character. How do you express your admiration for someone you know now? I would think that one would be pretty easy to do. You wouldn't even need a question for that. How do you express your feelings to someone who has done a favor for you? Do you like to write your feelings? You know, this section sort of feels like Jim Bob is setting somebody up and saying, this is how you must grovel to me. Grovel, 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 grovel. If you wrong someone, how do you apologize? Well, that's pretty simple. And I can't believe I have to say that this is simple, because this is one of those things that I've learned as I've gotten older. It's just easier to go ahead and knock it out when you know you're wrong. If someone has wronged you, how do you want him, her to apologize to you? You know, you can't dictate anyone's apology to you at all. You can't dictate how it is. You can't dictate the words. You can't dictate the form. This is ridiculous. Okay. How much time passes before you can forgive somebody? Fair question. Usually for me, it's about 48 hours, I've discovered, sometimes longer. How do you make important and less important decisions in your life? How do you express anger? Ooh, now that one's a big one, because that's one thing we see again and again and again in these quiverful marriages. Angry men. Angry men taking out their anger in some very crazy ways. Truffle, that makes sense. It makes sense to think that way. Diane, that's good to hear that you're on the right track now. Everybody, that's why I'm a believer in second chances, because we can all get off track. God knows I have enough times in my life. Anger. Okay. How do you expect your spouse to express anger? Well, we all know in quiverful, women are not allowed to have anger, much less express it. You gotta paste the smile on, smile, 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 and repress it. What do you do when you are angry? Good question. What are the things that you do in your free time? Ooh. And I know he's looking for godly things. Priorities. Okay, we're going back to this nonsense again. Who is the first on your list of priorities? Second, third. What do you base your priorities on? Or why do you feel like they need to be in that order? If full-time ministry is the picture for our future and you have to choose between the church or our family being the top priority, which one would you choose? Here's a hint. If he chooses the church over you, run, 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 because it's going to set a bad precedent for your life and you're always going to be an afterthought to him. Okay, home. We're on home. Do you love to have guests in your home for entertainment? What are you expecting from your spouse when your friends come to the house? Hey, wait a minute, that rhymed. Does the house have to be clean at all times? That's another one of those fundy idols. What are the areas that drive you crazy if they aren't clean? What do you consider clean? That's important too. Do you cook or clean? That's kind of forbidden in that world. So, of course, they're going to ask that question. Will you pitch in and help out with the cleaning and the cooking? A trick question. What household duties do you enjoy? Taking out the trash, mowing the grass. That's what they're looking for. What household duties do you hate doing? Do you do outside chores? And outside chores is capitalized like it's a separate thing. Biblical womanhood. Oh, Lord, now we're really moving into the most toxic section. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the worth of a woman? About $40 worth of chemicals. How do you treat women in general? That's one of those ones that I think most of those guys would lie on. How do you treat your mom and sisters? Do you do special things for them occasionally or just when you have to? And have is capitalized. Do you open doors for ladies? You know, I can open my own damn door. Do you let them go first? Do you offer to help carry things for them? Oh my goodness. Did they write this back in the 1950s? Are they to only speak when spoken to? Ooh, that's a bad one. Do you feel women have a voice and are encouraged to speak their opinion? You know, that's a big no. Have you ever taken a woman's advice? Oh, can you give me an example of this? Oh, trick question. How important is it to you for you to be a gentleman? Have you ever raised a hand to hit, or have you hit a woman before? Important question, but do you really think that these guys are going to admit this on a survey that your daddy is going to look at? I don't think so. How did your dad treat your mom in this area? I don't think they would tell the truth about that either. They'd probably lie like crazy. When at home or in the car, who does the temperature have to be set to please? You or the others in the car? How about in regards to your mom and your sister? That one really becomes important once menopause hits. Once menopause hits and you are like sweating your rear end, you're sweating your biscuits off, just sitting in the car at a normal temperature, that's a very important one. That's when you start pulling at your clothing and twisting that knob for all it's worth. Been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, you know. Modesty and appearance. That last section was strictly 1950s. I don't think this is going to be much better. What is your thinking on these issues? Be specific where you draw the line. What bothers you in the areas of modesty? Nike. What is your definition of biblical modesty? Well, they're wearing robes in the Bible. What if our opinions differ? Do you have Bible to back up your opinion? Is it a conviction or just an opinion? Are pants ever acceptable? You know, this is really weird. There's like almost no question marks on these questions. What do you think about name brand clothing and emblems? Okay, I just have to interject here. I'm not a labels person. That was one positive thing that Quiverful did to me. That stripped all of that out. And yeah, very, very similar to being married to a Muslim, I think. It's pretty crazy. And I think that whole section on women was just insane when they start talking about men and women. And, you know, I told a tale a couple of weeks ago where I was picking up stuff at Costco here and people were stopping me and wanting to know if they could help me. It was like holding a bottle of shampoo in one hand and a 10-pound bag of almond flour in the other. It's like, you know, I got this. I got my bag of cat food. I put it all in my cart. I'm perfectly fine to put it in the car. And I know that is the way it is here. It's not men doing it for women. It's everybody doing it for old timers. And that's all that was. And I like doing things for myself. If I need help, I need help. But that day was interesting. I got asked like 5 times. I said, no, I've got my bag of cat food. So to say that the men have to be carrying stuff for women, I'm just like, oh, is this the 1950s again? It's terrible. So weird to me. Yeah, so weird to me. Everybody wore robes. There were no pants. There was no underwear. So it is kind of funny that they go on and on and on and on about modesty, and the way modesty was even defined in biblical times is way different than what these jerks are talking about. Okay. I want you to, will you regulate your children's clothing? Regulate your children's clothing? You mean have an opinion about what they're wearing, I guess. How will you approach your wife or daughters if they are immodest? Oh, man. Probably the same way that my parents approached me, and it's been happening innumerable years. It's like, yeah, I think that skirt is a little too short for school. Get in there and change. I had some experiences like that when I was in school because I did tend to like to wear outrageous stuff back in the 70s when it was popular. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more. Your family. How would you describe your relationship with your family? It's in the end, it doesn't make any sense. Choosing 1, 2, or 3. Oh, 1, 2, or 3. Okay. 1, we're best friends. We talk about everything. 2, we spend a large amounts of time together. When we are together, conversation is kept to a general level. 3, we are enemies. We never speak to each other. There's a whole lot of wiggle room between those 3 categories, and it's not always one or the other. There are some things that you just can't talk about with others. Choose these options for each of the following relationships: with your dad, with your mom, with each of your siblings, with your grandparents, which is ridiculous. I could honestly say with my grandparents, the conversation was just very neutral. I think it is with most people with their grandparents, just very general, small talk things. I think it would be weird if you had long in-depth talks with your grandparents. Hey, I'm dating so and so, and I like going out behind the field and making out with them, and stuff like that. So there's just, yeah, Catholic parents. You're right about that, Diane. I had Catholic parents. It was like, you were not wearing that skirt to school. And I don't know if anybody else did that, but I certainly did it. When you went to Catholic school and you had to wear your little blouse and your little plaid skirt or jumper with the skirts, we used to roll up the waistbands so they turned into mini skirts. It was very popular in Catholic school, and we used to get into all kinds of trouble for that. And really bad if you rolled up your skirt and you tied your shirt. The first time I saw Britney Spears' video, Baby Hit Me One More Time, I laughed because that's what she had done. She had just completely mangled a Catholic schoolgirl uniform like so many of us did. So there's that. There's the immodesty of Catholic schoolgirls. Eat your heart out, Jim Bob. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more. Okay. How much contact do you have with your family? What type of contact do you have with them? Email, written letters, telephone? How often do you have this type of contact? Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly? If daily, how many times a day? What do you feel are your current and future obligations to your family? What do you feel are your current and future obligations to my family? That one is pure Jim Bob. He wants to know how you're going to build his family brand. How are you going to appear on TV? Are you going to toe the family line and say all the right things, do all the right things? Are you not going to wear miniskirts? Are you going to behave yourself? It's all right there. It's the obligation spelled out. So he's telling you in not so many words that your obligation to your family must lessen and your obligation to his family must go way, way up. And that is where I'm going to leave you today because I can't think about any more of this stuff. I'm going to explode. Thank goodness it's been a good distraction for everything happening in the KJ Truther community where I'm just knocking myself on the head frequently going, no, I'm staying off to the side and ignoring all this because life is, oh, small town girl. Yes, yes, yes. I forgot so many times and get in so much trouble. Come trotting up, and my father would say, who are you trying to vamp dressed like that? Why are you dressed like a slut? And I had to tell one quick story from my own life and religion and the whole toxic stew before I go. I've told this story to NLQ. Actually wrote about it. There was a place near Baton Rouge, Louisiana called Thunderbird Beach. It was on the outskirts. Basically, they dumped a bunch of white sand and rerouted part of the natural river to fill in this park setting and it was like a white sand beach with rides, with like carnival rides and just different things. You could picnic there, you could swim. It was a great place. I loved that place. So there was that. And I remember being 7 and going for the day with my father and my aunt and a bunch of other people to Thunderbird Beach. And this would have been 1967. There was a ride called the Himalayan there. And in front of the ride, they had the most fascinating thing. They had a mannequin that was wearing a mini skirt, some type of little blouse, sleeveless blouse, white go-go boots, and one of the London flat top caps. She was just the height of fashion for 1967 for me in Louisiana. And the mannequin, every time the song played, every time the song played, the mannequin would do a really jerky like dance. And the song that kept playing on that ride, that kept playing the same song over and over, was Tommy James and the Shondells' Moni Moni. Knock downs, turn around, Moni Moni. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. That song. Yes, B, we're the same age. So I got up on the rock in front of Thunderbird Beach and I was dancing like the go-go dancer to the song. Very innocent. My father snatched me off that rock. And it was one of the few times he ever beat the hell out of me in front of everybody, no less, because he said I was acting slutty. A 7-year-old child that had no idea what the song was about, was just admiring the dancer in her finery and imitating. And that has stuck with me for years and years and years. And I look back, I was wearing a one-piece swimsuit. I was very modestly dressed for the beach. But according to my father, I was behaving slutty. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't know, but that has always stuck with me. And I've had some conversations with him in the past before he passed on about that. And he was just very fearful. He had been raised in the method, not the Methodist, but in the Episcopal religion. My mother was Catholic. My father ended up being Catholic. So he somehow, oh, you found me in here, pork. He somehow had absorbed all of those, hey, pork, all of that guilt and those 1950 ideas about what appropriateness for women was and wasn't. And I said about 5 or 6 years ago, I was listening to that song one day in my office. It just came on YouTube. I was just, you know how you can set it, we'll go from song to song to song. And my jaw dropped. And I just started thinking about that big time. I started thinking about my father and on how unfair that was and how he just traumatized a child who for years afterwards worried about going to hell because of what had happened. So what I ended up doing was playing the song again and saying, no, I am not accepting that. I am not going to hell because I danced to this stupid song at Thunderbird Beach. And so I started dancing to it again. I'm not a very good dancer. I'm awkward, but I danced that day. And now every time I hear that song, that's what I do. I dance. I dance to that song because of what was done to me while I was dancing that song as a child. Roller skating with a migrant worker's son. Oh wow. Oh wow. That is pretty extreme. It is so weird, some of the things that our parents put us through. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I've tried to be careful not to put my own children through the same things. But I know from talking to all of them, there's other things that they have all had to go through, that they've all been through, that have been traumatizing in their own weird ways. So I don't know if we don't, look who's here, I don't know if we don't end up with our own little bizarre things that we do. And maybe we just all have to forgive each other and move on and dance. So anyway, that's my rant for today. So now you know about my father beating me and about and my father never spanked me. That was a rarity. Small, I knew that it had something to do with sexuality. I just didn't know that. I didn't know much about it. I knew very little about sexuality at that point in my life. I knew it was something dirty that it meant, apparently, and I had never picked up on that since. I've since read where the guy who wrote the song, I just said the name of his band. He said that he wrote the song. It was just random lyrics he was putting together, and he looked out the window and saw the Moni Mutual of New York sign, and suddenly it became Moni Moni instead of some other girl's name. Oh, for wearing red lipstick. That's terrible. That's really another grandpa, minister, conservative Baptist. Yes, that is awful. And I'm hearing more and more awful stories through the years of these things. And it's so silly because kids don't pick up on any of this stuff. And even a teenager, a young woman graduating, I didn't know red lipstick was a sin back in the 50s, but it must have been. I know my mother comes with her own weird sort of beliefs about the roles of women and men that she brings out of the 50s. And I try to be gentle with her about those things, even though I've never believed them. Hey, Pork, you really do want to get to me, don't you? Pork is my cat. Okay. She has decided that I am her person. So we're kind of got to go with that. Okay, you guys, it's been an hour. I'm losing voice. I'm going to go. Tomorrow we're going to continue because this is like in Rocky Horror when Columbia says, slowly, slowly. This is too nice a job to rush. This is too much bizarreness to rush for one entire thing. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.